Hello everyone, my name is Rayven. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Rainbow Veteran, and welcome back to another episode of the Rainbow Veteran Podcast. Now, before I get started on today's episode, I do want to bring up a little side thing that is going on in the news right now. I want to give a big shout out to all the veterans who are currently taking part in the sit-in DC. If you don't know, basically a group of veterans, some bigger ones that are known online and some smaller ones like me, or even smaller than me, have basically been sitting in or just outside Union Station at Washington, D.C. in protest to the federalizing of the National Guard and using them in D.C. A lot of them have had issues with them kind of skirting around paying the guardsmen there as supposedly or allegedly, whichever one fucking fits. They've been taking them and kind of removing them from hitting the 30-day mark so they don't get their proper pay on anything. But also they've just been using them to clean up trash in DC, which I'm not super against, but like, why use our National Guard? Why not just have more people on staff with like the park services to actually pick up the trash? And also, like, these guardsmen could be doing their actual job and actually doing something useful for the country instead of just being basically just a show of force and a sad attempt at kind of normalizing our military being on our soil against our citizens. So I did want to give all of y'all a huge shout out. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get there logistically. I can do travel, and I can do some board and food, but maybe it's a huge logistical thing, and I'm still trying to figure it out around my few weeks of like appointments at the VA. But I am trying. I just can't guarantee I'll be there. But if you can't be there, please support any way you can. Spread word. They did have a GoFundMe, but they stopped it because they already hit their goal. But support any way you can. If you can't go there, write op-eds, write to your local newspaper or just some of the bigger newspapers, and use your voice to amplify what's going on. And with that being said, let's get into today's topic because it's a little bit of a heavy one. And I'm also going to give a huge trigger warning here. I am going to be talking about the VA's potential new rule on abortion care at the VA. And I am going to be talking about rape and incest occasionally. Not in huge details, but I am going to bring up those words. So if that bothers you, please, no offense taken, take care of yourself and watch the next episode. No worries. So, I did break it down into two major parts for this episode. As I get started into this, I have no idea how long it's going to be, but basically, I got the Military Times article by Patricia Kim, and then I have the actual Federal Registrar's summary and additional notes copied, and just kind of talk about it as I read them. I do have some notes in the margins here, but a lot of it's just going to be talking about it and talking about how I feel about these things. So I'm going to start with the Military Times article. And I'm bringing this up. I know the article was written way earlier in the month, but I didn't know about the comment line. So I am, with all my busy schedule of all the other stuff I had to do these last few weeks, including a myriad of doctor's appointments, I am trying to get this as soon as I can to you guys. And so I know the link is going to expire a few days after I upload this episode, but do not stop after the link for comments has expired. Talk to your politicians, your state level and your federal level, representatives, congressmen, senators, whatever. Talk to them. Talk to your VA patient care advisors. Talk to people and spread word about what's going on. Because this is an attack of care at the VA. It's just point blank and simple. And it's not just for veterans. This is affecting dependents who are on CHAMP VA. People like my spouse, hopefully, would be affected by this. My little sister would be affected by this. So, these things are important. So, the Department of Veteran Affairs plans to halt nearly all abortions performed at VA medical centers and to stop covering the costs of procedures for beneficiaries of its health program for spouse and dependents. So basically, and this is just jumping straight into the article, if you are a veteran or if someone that's your dependent beneficiary is on CHAMP VA, you are no longer, if and when this rule goes through, are no longer going to be able to receive abortion care for a very small window. And that window is pretty much going to be the exact same thing as what's happening right now in Texas. And I know I dog on Texas a lot with this stuff, but this is actually pretty accurate as to what's gone on with abortion care in Texas. In a notice published on August 4th in the Federal Register, the VA said it plans to return the regulation to what they were in place until September 2022, excluding abortion for its medical services coverage unless the pregnancy threatens the life of the mother. And that's the key phrase they're taking right there. Threatens the life of the mother. So if you're pregnant and say you have an ectopic pregnancy, right? They won't do anything until you're either in septic shock or sepsis, and you have a very small window to get proper care. You basically have to be in the process of dying to get care at the VA. Now, not a huge deal for some of those folks who live in states or in areas where you can easily get that done. Other than medical bills side, that's going to be a headache. But I'm thinking of this in the worst case scenario, in states like Texas and Georgia, where the VA was the only place you can get this kind of care. And if they're not going to do it, but the state's not going to do it, you're basically forcing people to choose between dying or trying to give a miscarriage and probably not die. It's horrible. It's really fucking horrible, and it's aggravating because I've been calling this shit out for months online, and this guy, even before it reached the VA, when actually at this point years ever since Roe v. Wade got overturned, and I was told I was fear-mongering, and I feel like I say that every fucking episode, but, when I call shit out, and I talk about these potentials because I see fucking patterns, it gets a little frustrating. So back to the article. 3 months after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned federal protections for abortion rights in June 2022, the VA announced that it would offer abortion services to veterans and eligible dependents in cases of rape, incest, and danger to the life or health of the mother. And that third one is huge. So instead of being threatening the life of the mother, it is threatening, or it is the danger to the life or health of the mother. So this is basically, and I'm going to use ectopic pregnancy here as an example, mostly because that's I'm very ignorant with a lot of the medical stuff with this. I'm going to put all cards on the table. I'm not an expert. Never played one on TV. So, the one I do know that can cause a lot of issues is ectopic pregnancies. Now, those can get detected early. And when it's just going to be there's an 80 to 90% chance the baby's not going to make it. But because it's not, 100%, the current rulings will still say we could do the procedure, save the parent's life, do the procedure, and then the risk of long-term effects are going to be minimal. The risk of infertility is going to be minimized. And while it's going to have a emotional and psychological scar of just, losing the baby, because that does have an effect on people, seen it firsthand, it's going to be a lot less than, oh, I potentially died on top of it. You know what I mean? So, at the time, then VA Secretary Dennis McDonough said that the department had the legal authority to offer the procedure and that it was obligated to do so to ensure veterans had the same access to abortions as is offered by the Department of Defense. And that's the thing that's funny, is because the Department of Defense rule hasn't changed. But they're trying with the VA. So my thought is they're either trying with the VA to see if they can overturn the DoD rule, or they're using the VA side to just fuck over veterans because they care more about those who are in service than they do about us who are out of service. So it's kind of fucked up. The whole it's cheaper to bury us than take care of us line that a lot of us veterans say begrudgingly is getting louder and fucking louder. The official said in its August 4th announcement, however, that the department's 2022 ruling was inappropriate and also legally questionable. Quote, the last administration used the Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization to do the exact opposite of preventing overreach, creating a purported federal entitlement to abortions for veterans where none had existed before and without regard to state law. Stated in the notice and signed by VA Secretary Doug Collins. It's not an overreach. I hate this fucking comment here because if the VA, which is government-owned, a federal hospital system, and a federal entity is overreach, then so is the commissary and the Class 6 in states and counties that are fucking dry. Prime example, I can go to a Class 6 in my area of Pittsburgh. I can go to a Class 6 and I can get liquor, beer, wine, whatever fucking alcohol I want that they have. Comparatively to the rest of Pennsylvania, that if it's like liquor, you have to get it in a state-run store. That is the same fucking level of quote-unquote overreach. That is such a bullshit cop-out, Collins. And I know he doesn't watch these videos, but I really wish he could see this one. Because that is such a lame-ass response. A very politician's response. I will give you that. That is a very politician response. But a bullshit response altogether. In the first year of the 2022 ruling, VA provided or covered 88 abortion procedures, including 9 that were performed because the life of the mother was endangered, and 15 that resulted from rape. The remaining 64 were done because the pregnancy threatened the mother's health, a condition that conservative lawmakers said was not permissible under a federal law that allows government funds to be used for abortions only in cases of rape, incest, or life-threatening conditions known as the Hyde Amendment. Now here's my thing, right? Yes, that is exactly what the Hyde Amendment states. We cannot use government funds for abortions outside of those things, right? The problem is, The DOD still has it where it's pro-fucking active. It is in case like the 2022 ruling where if it is going to be life-threatening, if it's going to kill the mother, if it's going to kill the parent, if it's going to not be a viable living being, then if you're in the military and TRICARE, guess what? That's government funded, but A-O-fucking-K. But Champ VA, the VA itself can't. What the fuck are we doing? Like, honestly, like, what the fuck are we doing? That this is where the Hyde Amendment comes through. To where you're A-OK not paying attention to what's going on with our military force. But the moment us veterans have the same access, then it becomes a fucking issue. When we know it's not an issue. It's not. It's just more care to cut, more corners to cut to save money, and a system that you're trying to privatize. And that's all it really fucking is. Is you're just trying to privatize the VA and save money for the billionaires, to save money for the elite, so they don't have to pay as much. That they can keep and hoard more of their wealth. And that us veterans can't get the care that we were contracted to receive. Because in this fucking book, it tells you that once you're above 30 or 50, I don't even know what page it's on. But I'm 95% sure it's either 30 or 50. It's one of those two percentages. And I'm leaning more towards 50. That once you hit that mark, all of your medical care is covered by the VA. When you're at that mark, which means all your medical care, you can go to the VA entirely instead of the civilian world. Now, I do understand community care is a thing that if your VA hospital doesn't have the tools, they will pay for it. But still, you're still going to the fucking VA instead of going through insurance and going through civilian doctors. You're going to the VA to have all your fucking care done. That includes gender-affirming care, and that includes fucking abortions. Moving on. When pressed, the Democrat-led administration repeatedly declined to disclose what it considered to be health concerns beyond life-threatening conditions that would allow a patient to receive a covered abortion, raising concerns that the department was offering the procedure beyond the Hyde Amendment's limitations. So, they wouldn't give exact reasoning, which, fucking, sure, you can grill them on that. But, like, it's kind of like trying to grill them over, hey, why do we paint this building blue? Like, what they're basically were saying was, hey, we're going to stop this, we're going to be proactive, we're not going to be reactive, we're going to be proactive, and we're going to save a parent's life and their ability potentially to have more kids down the road if they choose so they don't have to deal with the traumatic experience of almost dying. Novel fucking concept, apparently. An earlier version of August 4th's announcement, which was published late August 8th, drew criticism from lawmakers, abortion right groups, and veteran advocacy organizations who say access to abortions is an essential part of veterans' health care. Because it is. Novel fucking concepts, but apparently fucking Christian nationalists can't wrap that around their fucking small-ass fucking brains. They noticed that the proposed regulation goes beyond federal allowances by not including access for victims of rape or incest. So they're just cutting even more fucking care. Because the Hyde Amendment states instances of rape and incest. But the new fucking rule doesn't. So now they're just making it even worse. So if something happens to a veteran's dependent who's on Champ VA, guess what? Now they have trauma, and they're going to have to keep the baby. Brilliant. Brilliant. Way to go, Collins. Current VA policies guarantee, at the very least, veterans who are raped or who could die without an abortion can get the care they need, said Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut in a statement on that Friday. This decision is a harmful and reckless move that re-engages on the department's promise to provide every veteran... Renegades? I don't fucking know. It's late. But anyway, it basically is saying, like, it moves that goes back on the department's promise to provide every veteran the health care that they earned and deserved. This administration is sending a clear message to its veterans that their health and dignity are not worth fighting for. And I want to, repeat that. That this administration is telling us veterans that our health and dignity are not worth fighting for. They're turning their backs on us. And we've been saying this for months, y'all. We've been saying this since the fucking midterms. And I know I didn't have my show then, because I was too busy trying to get the woman elected who was way more fucking qualified and who didn't support so much that is going wrong in this country right now. Where am I in this? Nancy Northrup, president of the Center for Reproductive Rights, said in a statement, "This shows you just how extreme this administration's anti-abortion stance is. They would rather a veteran suffer severely than receive an abortion." A VA spokesman stated prior to the 2022 change, quote, "Federal law and longstanding precedent across Democratic and Republican administrations prevented the VA from providing abortion and abortion counseling. But yet, the DOD still did it with the military. Still fucking did it with the military. For years. And all we did in 2022 was like, hey, see what they're doing for our service members? Let's give it to our vets too. That's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Do you think that's fair? I fucking think that's fair." And yes, did it go across multiple administrations? Yes. But guess what? Things change. Someone saw an issue, saw how to fix it, and then they tried to fix it. Novel fucking concept. But even then, like fucking abortion counseling. I'm going to talk about this for a second. Abortion counseling. So say there is an ectopic pregnancy. Say they catch it in time or don't catch it in time. Either way, they go through the procedure to save the person's life, right? There's trauma with that. And you're not going to provide counseling for that? What the fuck? That is so messed up. Because technically, removal of a miscarriage is considered, medically speaking, an abortion. You're not going to provide counseling for people who lost their baby that way? So we're just wanting people to suffer. We're wanting vets to suffer. Wanting their dependents to suffer. And I don't get it, y'all. I really don't. Because even the Christians who say they're against this stuff, I'm like, where the fuck does it say it in the Bible? The only time I can find anything remotely close to, birth in the Bible is when Adam took his first breath. And is when God blew air into Adam's lungs. And then he knew that he was alive. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's like the rapture thing. You guys completely made it up. It's nowhere in the Bible. And yet you use this stuff to try controlling people. And it's horrible. It's really fucking horrible. Republicans were quick to praise their proposed reversal. 6 members of the House Veterans Affairs Committee released a joint statement on August 8th calling the previous policy disastrous and saying it was created for political purposes. No, it wasn't. It was just basically saying, hey, let's do what we're doing for the military and just continue that on for the veterans. Same care when they're in, same care when they're out. Fucking novel concept. What they're doing is a political purpose. It's a political move. So, I feel like this is just me yelling at the camera for an hour, the episode. It's simple. Taxpayers do not want their hard-earned money spent on paying for abortions. And VA's sole focus should be providing service-connected healthcare and benefits to veterans that they serve, wrote representatives led by the committee chair, Representative Mike Bosch of Illinois. Then why does this say we can get all our care covered? Why does this say we can get all of our medical care covered? Not just service-connected, all of it. But I remember when I went to D.C. with Common Defense, Mike, and you stood in the Capitol, and you shouted at a member of Common Defense saying that they are not going to cut any of our care. So, if this is service-connected healthcare only, that's cutting our care. Because the rest of our care and benefits, all of it, for over 50%, is all of our medical, which includes abortions. Fuck my boss. Of the 2 million female veterans in the U.S., 42% use VA health care and are of childbearing age. God, that is written so weird. According to the Commonwealth Fund, a healthcare research institute, more than 417,000 people use the CHAMP VA program, including spouses and dependent children of certain disabled veterans or deceased veterans. Under the proposal, only veterans and family members who face a life-threatening emergency, including treatments for ectopic pregnancy or miscarriage, would have access to the procedure if a physician certifies that carrying the fetus to the full term would endanger the life of the mother. And most of the time, that does not happen until it is 100% going to kill the mother. Not 80, not 90, not even 99%. 100% going to kill the mother, and they usually have a 30-minute window to a couple hours. But I've heard stories that for some women it's 30 minutes. And this is why I'm here, y'all. This is why I'm making this episode today, y'all. I am just beyond frustrated. And while this does not affect me, I can't get this care. Say my spouse becomes my caregiver, or I become 100% P&T. They're eligible for a CHAMP VA. If they get it and something happens, I want them to be able to have that procedure. And the fact that we could be denied for that, the fact that if, heaven forbid, something happens to my little sister, I want them to be taken care of. I want, things to happen and be protected. But literally says that it's only in life-threatening situations. And ectopic pregnancy can be detected early. But are they going to cover it if it's detected early and it's a 50% chance? Doubt it. I doubt they'll even authorize it if it's a 90% chance. And it doesn't even include rape or incest. And some of these places in our country, unfortunately, are lousy with it. It's rough. It is fucking rough. So the proposal will be open for a 30-day public comment period, which runs through September 3rd. After considerations of the comments, the ruling could be adjusted before becoming final. Now this is where I want to talk about this, because that window is really short now. It's really short. And I know I'm a little late uploading this episode with it, and that's on me. Life happened. But I still want to get this episode out. So please, there's been a lot more comments over the last few weeks, and it's exploded. But please, comment and put this into their forum. Because when that House committee and then the Senate committee get these responses with this proposal, they have to read every single one and talk about it. And that's something I didn't know. And it wasn't until, I'm not sure how comfortable they are with their full names. So I'm just going to say Church, the head of Minority Veterans of America, in a meeting, told me that. Or told the meeting that, but I was there and heard it. So it's going to be a little bit of a window. And in that window, I mean, it could happen. They could rush through it. And it could be September 3rd, September 4th, boom, it's the new rule. They could. They totally could do that. Let's make them push it longer. Let's make them wait longer. And don't do a whole copy and paste thread thing, because they're just automatically going to delete that. Make the responses unique. Tell your stories. Tell examples. Share your stories. And it's important. It's really, really important. Because we should be taking care of all of our veterans. For all of their care. Or else, what are we doing? Like, honestly. Like, everyone wonders why we've had a retention issue. Do you see how we're treating our veterans? Like, honestly. Do you see how we're being treated after service? And it's horrible. And it's only gotten worse since this administration. Yeah, there was a backlog when the PACT Act came through, but anytime there's a massive source of an increase in veterans, there's a little bit of a backlog, and then it kind of tapers off. We're starting to see that taper off. But now this administration is just like, oh yeah, see? We're doing great. No, you're not. You're making the whole thing fucking worse. Because then we have new people coming in and not having the good experience I had when I first joined. I'm already seeing negative effects, and I've been in the VA for 2 years now. It's a clear, very clear night and day difference between the year or so I was in with Biden, and now. Huge difference. So now we're going to the actual government website. So this is the summary version. The Department of Veteran Affairs is proposing to reinstate the full exclusion on abortion and abortion counseling from the medical benefits package, which was removed in 2022. Before that time, this exclusion had been made firmly in place since the medical benefits package was established in 1999. The VA is also proposing to reinstate the exclusions on abortion and abortion counseling for the Civilian Health and Medical Program of the Department of Veteran Affairs, or CHAMP-VA, that were removed in 2022. We take this action to ensure that the VA provides only needed medical services to our nation's heroes and our families. Then why are you fucking removing it? Why are you removing it? I just don't get it. I really don't fucking get it. Because also the amount of time that these politicians who are so against abortions Many of them have had their spouses or mistresses even had them. And it's hypocrisy with the fucking Republican Party nowadays. And I say nowadays, like it's gone on longer than I've been alive. But let's be honest, it's only gotten worse and worse over the years. So here's the supplemental information. This is going into the more legal jargon of what I talked about with the Military Times article. Today, the VA is proposing to return the VA's medical package and CHAMP VA benefits to what they were on September 8th of 2022, before VA issued an interim final rule that removed long-standing restrictions against abortions. From 1999, when VA established medical benefits package 17.38 of Title 38 Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, until September 8th, 2022, VA's, quote, medical benefits package did not authorize abortion services because they were not needed. Not needed is quotated there. Medical services under Section 1710 of Title 38 of the U.S. Code. For decades, VA has consistently interpreted abortion services as not needed medical services and therefore not covered by the medical benefits package. If it's not needed medical services, but it's still considered medical services in the same line, and you're supposed to take care of all medical services, you just contradicted yourself, chuckle fuck. Which is why the rule changed on September 9th, 2022. Like, fucking figure it out, Jesus Christ. I feel like Shorzy. I don't know if any of y'all watch fucking Letterkenny, but I feel like Shorzy right now. Like, give your balls a fucking tug. As a matter of law, it is without question that the VA has the authority to bar provision of abortion services through the VA medical benefits package to veterans. From 1999 until 2022, that is in fact what the VA did. It wasn't until 2022 when the VA Secretary reversed this course. The stated reason for doing so was a reaction to a Supreme Court decision in the case of Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization that itself was intended to prevent federal overreach and return to the state's control over provisions of abortion services. Again, the VA is not controlled by the fucking states, so ergo, should not follow state rules. It should follow the federal rules, in which they basically were like, hey, we see that the GOG is doing this for our service members. We should give that to our veterans. And this is also what irritates me. Oh, we didn't do this until 2022. We also didn't give Vietnam-era veterans fucking care for Agent Orange until fucking the PACT Act, which happened, what, 2023, 2024? That's still a good decision. We should have done it sooner. Just like in the case we did with this 2022 rule change. Should have done it fucking sooner, but we didn't. And for whatever the fucking reason we didn't do it, that's not important. What is important is the fact that we have to care now. Why go backwards? If not, just for the fucking Christian nationalist, pro-life, fucking evangelical reason that you fuckers come up with every other time. It's either that reason, which we know is bullshit, or it's for cutting more care at the VA so now the billionaires and the elite can save more fucking money, which has been the fucking goal with the privatization. Let's see. It's doing the quote from the article. Yet the last administration uses Dobbs to do the exact opposite of preventing overreach, creating a proposed federal entitlement to abortions for veterans, where none had existed before, and without regard to state law. Because the VA, once again, is a government fucking facility. They don't have to follow state law. It's the federal government. In doing so, the administration preceded a high demand for VA abortions that never materialized. Okay? So not a lot of people got them. And so you're thinking, oh, well, we just leave it at the state. It's one of those things, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. What? The regulatory determination that abortion is, again, not needed service for veterans was accepted by every secretary and presidential administration for over 20 years. Yeah, so was not caring for fucking Agent Orange. So it was a lot of fucking shit. To keep in mind, we also were in a fucking 20-year-ass long war that kind of took a little bit of precedent at the time. A little bit of the focus. And even when we tried to change stuff, even when there was proposed changes to these things, Republicans shot it down more often than not. The stated basis for determination that abortions were now a needed service was anticipated rise in demand as a result of the Dobbs decision. Well, yeah, more people needed it because they couldn't get in their state, and some people were fucking dying. But this conclusion contradicted decades of federal policy against forced taxpayer funding for abortions. And why do you give it to our service members? Considerations about whether abortion is needed for purposes of VA-provided services necessarily involves the question of whether taxpayers should pay for an abortion. For nearly 50 years, across a slew of federal programs, including Medicaid, the Child Health Insurance Program, aka CHIP, TRICARE, federal employee health benefits, and others, Congress has consistently drawn a bright line between elective and health care services that taxpayers would support. Elective abortions. I did skip over that. But I also want to say this. Yes. Most of the time, and again, that's not what the VA was fucking doing. The VA was not giving elective abortions. The VA was basically saying, hey, rape and incest, you're covered. We don't want to add extra trauma to you. It's most likely going to kill you. We'll take care of it. Not, oh yeah, no, we got to get you an OR. Right now, you're dying. Ugh, I'm so mad, and I want to yell, but it's literally the middle of the night. And I can't because I don't want to wake up my neighbors. VA has never understood this policy to prohibit providing care to pregnant women in life-threatening circumstances, including treatment for ectopic pregnancies or miscarriages, which were covered under VA's medical benefits package prior to the 2022 rule change. For the avoidance of doubt, the proposed rule will make it clear that the exclusion for abortion does not apply when a physician certifies the life of the mother would be endangered if the fetus were carried in term. This is also consistent with the pre-2022 regulations for CHAMP VA. No state law prohibits treatment for ectopic pregnancies or miscarriages to save the life of the mother. Yet, except in states like Texas, it has to be literally, you are dying, let's go. And I've heard horror stories of survivors of this crap. It's not, oh, I could lose the child, and there's most likely, like an 90% chance the child is going to cause death of the parent. No. That's the wording. It's the wording right there. To save the life of the mother. Not to treat it, not to care for the health of the mother or the parent. Not to stop it before it gets life-threatening. No. When it's going to kill you. When it is actively killing you. Then they can do something about it. That's not what TRICARE does. That's not what the military has. And this still goes even further and removes more care than is already there. And because I couldn't finish this. I could not finish all of this like legal jargon because I am getting to the same exact way I am right now, which is just horribly pissed off and frustrated with our care, frustrated with the VA, frustrated with Doug Collins, frustrated with his administration, frustrated with our government. I am getting, move that a little bit closer, I'm getting to the same level of when I was reading this. I've already felt like I repeated myself a shit ton. So I'm going to end the episode here. I am going to put a link to the comment line to where you can comment, share your story. That is going to be in the show notes. Please share this video out. Even if it's after September 3rd, please share this video. Share it to any veteran you know. Share it to anybody who cares about abortion rights. Please share this video, as even when the comment line goes down, we need to talk about this. We need to share this information. We need to call our representatives and call out this fucking bullshit. Like, I got so mad with this shit, I didn't even write a conclusion like I normally do. So I'm just going to make it up as I go. Because we can't let this happen. We cannot go backwards. This is America. We are a nation of progress, of looking forward, of making life better for our fellow Americans, regardless of who they are. And we were doing that for a long time. And then something happened with the GOP and shit got twisted. I could point fingers at which presidency that was, but I'm not going to. That's another episode. But we really need to come together and stop this, because it's just going to make things worse. Because it is in that language of not needed medical services. It's still medical services. You're already stating that it's medical services, that it's medical care. You just don't want to provide it. And in fact, you're trying to make it even worse than it was in the pre-2022 rule. So, what's your fucking excuse, Collins? Because when I see these Mill Talk guys talking to Collins and hyping up him and what he's doing in the VA, I get fucking pissed off. Because they aren't taking care of us. And you guys are still in service. You guys don't see what we have to fucking deal with. Yes, you can experience some of the care packages from the VA, like the VA home loans. You can get some of the benefits. But you don't see what we see, what we're going through. We need to talk about this. We need to share this. We need to expose this bullshit. And it's frustrating that a lot of the bigger vet talk and Mill Talk guys aren't. They just fucking aren't. And that's why I made this podcast, to call this shit out. To talk about this shit. Because no one was doing it. Or at least I could be another voice in the conversation to amplify the conversation. So that's why I have this show. That's my why. Because I'm a fucking leader. And if I gotta raise my voice so others can raise theirs, so fucking be it. Wish you all a good night. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Stay hydrated. I'll see you all in the next episode.